Disclaimer! The views and opinions stated in this video are based upon my prior knowledge of Street Fighter V before its release. Knowledge such as a cinematic story mode to be later updated for free, in addition to DLC characters that could be unlocked with currency earned in matches and online survival mode. Though it was stated by Capcom, I was not aware that there would be no arcade mode or versus option against computer. I had only kept up with the reveal trailers. Enjoy! Fighting games are one of my favorite genres of games, and not for the reason that many would agree with or think. For many, they like fighting games in a competitive sense. They take the time to learn and master every little detail, to become better and improve their skills from footsies to the fundamentals. Being able to put your friend or family member to shame with your mad skills, coming out the victor, taking a defeat, learning from your mistakes, and later seeking redemption through failure. That's a thrill that many get when they play fighting games. It's something very appealing, and honestly, I love it too. Watching some of the greats battle it out on the grand stage of EVO, just like WrestleMania. But nonetheless, it's thrilling and it's awesome, and I love watching it competitively. Playing it competitively, not so good at, but I'll get to that later. Fighting games have evolved so much from when they were first conceived to now. I mean, it's totally different than how it was way back. And in the case of Street Fighter V, this type of change threatens to create a divide between two types of players, the competitive and the casual. Now, unlike a lot of other YouTubers or websites, like Kotaku, Review Tech USA, Alpha Omega, I'm not going to wave a pitchfork or get butthurt because I didn't see a Rule 34 come to life in a real match. No, I don't care. My objective is to simply give my perspective on Street Fighter V from a casual point of view. First, I'm going to shock some of you. Shock! Games are made to make money. I know! To think works of art like Bubsy 3D can't stand the artistic test of time because it's not a good game is absurd. Keep in mind that was our sarcastic sentence, and there's no way bashing fighting games, except Tattoo Assassins. I love it, but it's garbage. We all know that. Go on Wikipedia, you know that. This is not news to you. When a company invests time and money into something, their goal is to make as much of a profit as possible. That's just how it is. Companies, keep in mind, companies, it's not indie developers. Unlike indie developers, whose goal is to simply make an enjoyable game and make a game that they're passionate about and make their vision become a reality, they don't have as much of a motivation for profits as a company does. A company, understand, has shareholders, has big CEOs, and needs to make as much of a profit as possible in order to survive another day. Let's all remember that early last year, Capcom was in dire straits and losing a lot of money. Mostly that's because they didn't really keep up with what their fans demanded, but at the same time, the threat of a company going down because they're not making as much of a profit as they can very well end a company. The gaming industry is very competitive, just like fighting games. You're very competitive, and they're battling against other games coming out to be the one that's most appealing to as many demographics as possible and make the most money so that their shareholders and CEOs can say, hey, that's a super awesome game. Looking at money, not the game. Super awesome game. Wow, that's really selling. You know what? We're gonna buy another season pass or DLC, and we're gonna put all this marketing and promotion into it. That's the goal of a company. Money has to go into this, not just developing the game, but marketing, promotion, all that stuff. It's an investment, and the goal is not to make your money back. It's to make your money back and then some. So, in the beginning, you're trying to hit a target demographic. That's the goal in the beginning. You aim for a certain demographic, and you cater to them, and you build around that demographic. But to simply limit yourself to one demographic is a hindrance to your game and the profits it could make. So you hit that target demographic, you cater to that demographic, but then you start to, you know, look at other demographics, because keep in mind, you want to make, in a company perspective, you want to make as much money as possible and hit any type of demographic as possible. So while the target demographic for fighting games is probably competitive, you also want to give something that makes it appealing to casual fans, so you in turn get that money too, and then that your game becomes that much more popular, well-known, and profitable. I mean, what I'm saying is, in terms of fighting games or shooters and stuff like that, to not consider the casual player's viewpoint, it won't bury your game necessarily, but it's going to be missing a demographic that you could have sold to and made money off of, and it will affect your sales. That's all I'm saying. It won't destroy your game, it won't bury your game, but it will negatively affect it, and, you know, you'll miss out on profits. The best example of a game that hits all these demographics is Mortal Kombat X. It builds off a competitive scene, balances out characters, improves online matchups. Hell, they update it all the time. Keep in mind, not many people, you know, agree with the balances and stuff like that, but nonetheless, they keep up to date with it, and they keep it fresh and new for people. You know, they keep a pulse on the competitive scene as well. They, you know, keep contact with the competitive scene and try to see, you know, cater to them. But it also hits the casual scene with their story modes, challenge towers, crit mode, and all that other stuff. And that makes more sales. You know, like getting all those movie franchises. You may have want to see someone else that fits the game better, but hell, a fan of Leatherface or Alien or Predator, stuff like that, they'll think it's fucking awesome that they could play as that character in a good game. Sega. Yeah. Calling you out here too. That's right. Don't come after us. And because of this, Mortal Kombat has been a huge success and has made mad bank. Let's go back in time, shall doodly 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 doo. Does anyone remember the first Street Fighter game? It was entirely different compared to how it is now. There were no footsies or 50-hit combos. It was developed as a beat-em-up with boss battles. It was supposed to be the next Final Fight, or a Final Fight. It was supposed to be that. It wasn't even supposed to be a fighting game. The creators had no idea that they were making the first blueprint to the fighting game genre. It was an accident. They didn't know that they were giving birth to one of the biggest fighting game franchises of all time. Can you believe that? One of the most profitable franchises, not even intentionally made to be a fighting game. Let's go back to, you know, SNES, all that stuff, you know. But keep in mind, real online play didn't really become prominent till like Xbox 360, PS3. There was online play for PS2 and Xbox, but I don't think it was as big as it is now. Now, online play is a selling point, and it's a huge selling point. You know, how did you play your game friends in the fighting games back in the day? You call up your friend Jim and hope that they had an extra controller because you couldn't afford it, and you would sit your ass down, pop on the SNES and play fucking Clay Fighter. That's right, Clay Fighter. You couldn't afford Street Fighter. Too many iterations are coming out. You could afford Clay Fighter. Clay Fighter. Hit 'em, smack 'em. They don't care. Ooh. There were no patches. There were no new character balances. In fact, if you wanted your characters to be balanced, you would have to bring out a brand new cartridge. Which is what Street Fighter did, and it was irritating to me. That's how you updated your game. You made another game, you know? Online. Like I said, a huge selling point now. Keeping your game in the know, keeping your game relevant with new content even after the release is a huge selling point. It's an entirely different market than how it was back then. Because now, with advances, expectations grow, and people expect you to use the technological advances in gaming to your advantage. That's why DLC is a huge thing. How many developers use it is bullshit, but it's a huge thing now. And that's just how the market is. So remember when I said I love fighting games, but it wasn't because of the competitive scene? Or I didn't like it for a competitive sense? Some of you may be asking, so what makes it appealing to you as a casual player? What makes a fighting game built now around a competitive scene appealing to someone like me? I like the design. I like the characters. I like the idea of being able to pick a wide assortment of characters and play with them and reach an ending or a boss fight or something like that. I like that idea. I mean, some could argue that I could get the same experience in like an adventure or platformer or stuff like that, but fighting games are very different. It's more basic in that, you know, your objective is to punch and kick someone till they're down. And as you go up and up and up and face the boss, it gets more challenging and challenging and challenging, and I like that. And that's not in terms of competitive, that's fighting a computer. You know, I don't know how to play games. I don't know how to play fighters. Could I take the time to master it? Yeah, but I personally don't have the patience. Just like MMOs, I don't have the patience to invest the time and effort into it. I like to have a single player experience with fighting games. And a lot of people would argue that I'm missing out on a big portion of the game, and they would be right. But fighting games hit a different mark with me and a different aspect with me, and I understand that I'm not the key demographic in that, and I'm not the target audience for a genre like this, and I'm absolutely okay with that. And I don't expect the competitive aspect of it to be neglected just so I can be catered to, because I'm not the target demographic. So I'm not gonna bash people for liking it. You know, I have played Street Fighter V with my friends with their PS4, and it's an awesome, fun game. I like it. It's fun. It feels good. Graphics are great. I had a great time with it. Keep in mind, you know, a lot of my friends are very competitive with the game. They want to learn the nuances of it. They want to get better. They want to improve. I just hit buttons and mash, and pretty things happen on the screen, and I get all giddy. Now, Street Fighter V, is it appealing to me right now? Do I really want to buy it right now? Honestly, not really. The story mode that's going to be free DLC is coming out. There's going to be a challenge mode coming out, so there is some stuff for single players to play. And that's great, as long as there's something. Honestly, the fact that they don't have an option to fight a computer in versus even, I feel like that's a little disappointing, and honestly something that could be easily rectified, and honestly something that should have been there from the start. I don't think that's that hard. So I may not agree with that, but at the same time, it's my choice to buy it. And right now, Street Fighter V is not appealing to me. Now, down the line, when, you know, Capcom releases the story mode and the challenge mode and, you know, the other characters for DLC, I'm myself, I'm gonna relook at the game and say, alright, you know, they've added all this stuff. Now it feels like, you know, this is worth me paying $60 for. Because understand, you know, it's a $60 game for like online modes and like a small story mode. You know, for me, you know, that's not worth $60, and there's so many other games that would give me so much more content for $60. And you know, honestly, I think that when they release all this stuff and it feels like a full release, I'll buy it. Because, you know, I don't not want to buy Street Fighter V. I want it, you know, to have all the content that I would expect from, you know, the games beforehand. And I'm completely in the understanding that they had a deadline and they released it early with all this stuff, and the game is bare bones and it's coming later. And I understand that, but, you know, it's not like, you know, let's look at Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct, you know, didn't get a physical release till the end of Season 1 when all the characters came out. And when it did come out, it was a free-to-play game that you could download on your Xbox One, and they would switch out characters every month so you can play with new characters, and if you wanted to get the other characters to play with, you could buy them. And honestly, you know, if Street Fighter V went out like that, then, you know, everyone would be, you know, singing a different tune. To release a game like that on store shelves for $60, it may not be Capcom's fault, they did rush it out, but you gotta understand, you know, for someone to pay $60 for a glorified online mode, and then if they want to get, you know, the other characters, unless they want to unlock them with the in-game currency, the season pass being $30, you add $60 to the game right now, plus $30 to the DLC characters that are coming later, along with the content that would cater to the casual fan base. You know, for right now, that's not worth the money to me. They haven't really developed, you know, a Street Fighter since Street Fighter 4. They've just been adding to Street Fighter 4. This is the first game after all of that, after they've initiated the big boom back into fighting games, and every other, you know, company that's created fighting games followed the path and, you know, one-upped them every step of the way. Now, you know, Street Fighter V is the rebuttal to all of those. The rebuttal to Mortal Kombat, the rebuttal to Guilty Gear, and, you know, that's a lot for them to handle, because they have to be ahead of all of them, because you're only as good as your last game. You know, to not fully understand and try to grasp what people really want in such a short time, and, you know, to also keep on targeting to the competitive scene, juggling all of that together, you know, unfortunately, at the moment, they dropped the ball. And honestly, I think that the game will be amazing in like 3 to 4 months. It'll have everything that it should have had on day one, you know, but it's just a shame because first impressions are everything, and Street Fighter V had a really bad first impression for casual players. And even if they rectify everything, which they honestly will, you know, it's left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, and, you know, have probably scared off a lot of people so much that, you know, they don't even care. So all that put together, you know, it's gonna hurt the game, and it honestly has hurt the game. But hopefully, you know, they could pick it up, roll with it, and, you know, hopefully they can grab back some of the people that they scared off. But for some, they've lost the demographic entirely, and it's a shame, and it is going to affect the game. Don't think of Review Tech or Alpha Omega as the generic casual player, because there are casual players that are very open-minded like me, that understand that the fighting games are not necessarily really for them, and that they should not be the end-all be-all. They are important, they are a selling point, they are a market, and they help improve the sales of a game and improve the likelihood of that game franchise's future, but they are not the end-all be-all, they are not the nail in the coffin, they are an important market to hit. Just remember, when you're fighting someone, you know, that just wants to sit down and play the game, and doesn't necessarily want to really learn the basics and fundamentals and combos and movements and stuff like that, but they just want to play. Try not to be, you know, oh fuck you, you're not good, come on, get better. Why are you so bad? Like, try not to be that. Don't just downright dismiss them. Because everyone likes things for different reasons. And everyone has a right to like things for how they want to like them. I guess in general, don't be an ass. Pretty much. I guess that's the end-all be-all really there. The last thing that I would want is to have this huge threatening divide between casuals and competitive players. To the point that it's just, you know, so hostile that it ruins fighting games in general. I don't want that. I want it to be an enjoyable experience for everyone. And, you know, people that overreact are going to ruin it. But at the same time, just remember, there are calm, cool, collected people that are awesome and understand.